It's a fun stinger anyway. I like that stinger.
Thank you.
So, what's happened now? Scream 7 is a complete debacle. What's happened? The director, Christopher Landon, has quit. Apparently, he actually quit a long time ago. When did he quit? Apparently, after Melissa Barrera got fired, because Melissa Barrera got fired actually significantly way before it was officially announced. So, it looks like there was about a 3-week crossover period, from what I can tell when I looked at this earlier, where the director, I would assume, was trying to get Melissa Barrera back on board the project. But Jenna Ortega left before everyone. And now Scream 7's got no one. What a shit show. So what's the story? In Balamory. Let's get to it. So the director tweeted this out. Says, I guess now is as good a time as any to announce I formally exited Scream 7 weeks ago. This will disappoint some and delight others. It was a dream job that turned into a nightmare. And my heart did break for everyone involved. Everyone. But it's time to move on. I have nothing more to add to the conversation other than I hope Wes's legacy thrives and lifts above the din of a divided world. What he and Kevin created is something amazing, and I was honored to have even the briefest moment basking in their glow. But wait, there's more. So, on November 21st, that's when Melissa Barrera was fired, right? And then after that, Jenna Ortega was announced that she was done. However, sources tell The Hollywood Reporter, Barrera actually got fired in October, in the early weeks of the conflict in the Middle East. And Ortega's exit was apparently way before, was actually before the SAG-AFTRA strike, but was not made public until last month.
Wow.
So,
I love how it was timed by the media to make it look like it was a reaction to the other chick getting fired.
Wow.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. How funny that they framed it in that way. But apparently, so if you're looking at that, right? So was announced November 21st that Melissa Barrera was fired. He tweets out 7 weeks ago, right? 7 weeks ago he left, which puts it before, which should, if I remember rightly, that puts it before. 5 weeks ago was announced. The 21st was 5 weeks ago. I looked at this earlier. So 2 weeks before that, he quit, and then it was announced that she was fired. So I think it looks like he stayed on to try, for those 2 weeks or whatever, to try to get her to, or that 2 week, well, a few months actually, well, a month or so, to get her to stay on, and then he left, and then 2 weeks after that, the studio obviously was like, shit. We don't have the director now.
It was the studio. This is what I think happened. I think he went in and said, it's either her or me. I go too. And the studio's like, well, adios.
Yeah, true.
That's what I think happened,
true.
To be honest with you.
True. What's hilarious about this is James Vanderbilt is the guy that's writing this and also the producer of it. So sources say that the writer was already contending with Ortega's loss and had been focusing the story on Barrera's character when she was then let go. And then he obviously had the creative partner in the director to shoulder the story, but now it's back to just no one. They don't have a director.
Upside is now they got the money, they can afford Nev Campbell again now.
They've got nothing, mate.
What's funny is when I was reading through this, right, because you shot this to me a little while ago, I'm like going, this was never good. And as Tom pointed out, we got the story in dribs and drabs and not in the right order. And everybody just said, nah. Everybody noped out. It's over. Bye. I don't know if Scream, do you think Scream survives this? I don't know. I think we're 6 maybe.
I think it will. I actually think it will. Genuinely. I think it will survive it. Well, I think it will survive it, and I think it will survive it because they've been made for peanuts, right? Absolutely,
they haven't gone straight to streaming level yet, but they're on their way quickly. Like, yeah, it's not a dead franchise, but it's dead in its initial form, that's for sure.
But they've been making quite good money, I think.
Yeah, that sixth one I think went down a little bit. Let's be real. The only reason the first
I hate them.
I know, but let's be real, because I think from my memory, right? If my memory serves, I keep calling it the second, because technically to me, these are new movies. The Scream movies ended with Scream 4. When Wes
Yeah.
Craven died, that was it. It's done. It's over. These new movies are like a new thing, kind of like the Star Wars sequel.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to compare it to. Scream, whatever the hell it was called. It was just called Scream, guys. That's the problem too.
Yeah.
5 or whatever. That made like almost, what was it, $200 or $300 million at the box office. I know the sixth one made like, I think 100 million less. I remember right.
Yeah.
So in this case, you had like the Force Awakens kind of thing with that first film. Everybody's like, oh, you got the original cast back. I want to go see this. And a lot of people were turned off by the story. Like the whole idea of the original killer having a kid, and then now they're kind of trying to turn them into an anti-hero kind of. It was a fucking convoluted mess. The sixth one, some people were like, yeah, at least it was a step up from the last one, but I just don't think enough people went to see it in the theater. This thing has been clearly in development hell, or whatever you want to call it, for months now because of all the turmoil behind the scenes. The last film, they lost Neve Campbell because she wanted more money than they were willing to pay her. Well, at this point, what have you got left? That's the next thing I see. They're going to get a new director, a new writer. They're going to try and move Neve Campbell to come back because that's all they got left. So at this point, it's literally one step away from being straight to video.
But the writer's staying. He's staying. Vanderbilt's
well,
staying
regardless, they're going to write a new script because you've lost both your main characters.
We lost everybody. I mean,
they can still get Neve Campball back. They just got to write a big check to her. Because that's the only thing that's going to save this franchise at this point. I'll tell you right now, that's what I do. Of course, I wouldn't have got him into this mess in the first place. But what else can you do at this point?
You just creatively reboot this. Wouldn't that be the wiser? If you were,
I would have left it alone, but Paramount can't.
There's that issue that there's an issue with one of the words you've just used there, culture, and I will forgive you for being naive, okay. But Hollywood has no fucking creativity, so they can't creatively reboot it.
Okay, you're right.
Okay,
you're right.
God damn.
I know. I'm sorry. I slipped back to a decade
talk about it every week.
Make shit. I'm sorry.
Their best bet is to pay a big check to Neve Campbell, get her butt back in there.
Do you think
she's a draw, though?
But you think
she's all they got left?
But do you have to have her back if it's a great story and it's done okay and they get back to what the movie should be like? I mean, seriously. I mean, what's the difference between having her in a bad, shitty script with it gets a big paycheck, or we get someone else that is awesome and amazing and has a freaking great movie behind it? You know what I mean?
Mike, you're going to get chastised just like I did, thinking
for what?
That they can you think they can write?
You're oversimplifying the lack of creativity that Hollywood clearly has. I mean, good script. Mike, when did you last see a good script? I mean, I'd love to know it.
I don't know.
And was it from a major Hollywood studio?
I think it was about 10 or 11 years ago. All right.
Well, there we go then. Now, come on.
And I got to correct myself. Scream 6 did do a little bit better than Scream 5, but then again, Scream 5 was released during the pandemic and simultaneously in theaters and on streaming, and it just barely did a little bit better. So
but they are money earners, so they will try.
Oh yeah, they'll keep going with them. They're not going to stop. And that's what I was saying is because Paramount just spent a bunch of money on the Dimension movies and Miramax movies. This is the only franchise they got. Like, if you not noticed, they're not doing anything. What do they got? Nothing. Scream's the only thing that had anything they could keep going with, basically. And that's it. From Dusk Till Dawn and a few other things is what they got, and they can't really do anything with that without completely reestablishing that. So yeah. And I don't even know if they can do that without help with maybe even Robert Rodriguez and Tarantino got to sign off too, for all I know on that. But
But just isn't it so funny? Literally, like before the strike even happens, Jenna nopes out. She's like, nah, Wednesday's clearly better.
I'm kind of not surprised. It's a little beneath her now, right? She's hit that point where
she wasn't a star.
Exactly. Like, she's done her scary movie time. 2 is enough for me, she said.
Well,
that's
I also
what
think.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what
Curtis did with Halloween 1 and 2. After 2, she's like, peace out.
And she's just got this thing that the Tommy Lee Jones movie that's fresh, right?
That's why she couldn't do Scream, supposedly, is she had a conflict with another thing she already signed up for, and they clearly didn't have her contracted. That's another thing. Clearly, Paramount must have only had her contracted for 2 movies or 1 at a time, and They didn't have her on contract for part 3 because she's like, peace out.
Why does
Because otherwise they could have invoked
I
it.
wonder how much they were paying her.
Probably not much.
Well, no, you say that because between 1 and 2, her star rose. If she wasn't,
She probably made a
contracted-
little bit more for 2. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I wonder what.
Well, there
I
was
wonder
enough.
if she would've
There wasn't
negotiated
enough
for.
money to pay Nev Campbell for part 2 or the 6th one, whatever you want to call it. So yeah,
Exactly. And no, like, I don't think people were going to watch them for Melissa Barrera anyway.
No, I didn't even know her fucking name until she was booted. Like I knew who she was as far as her character, but I wouldn't have been able to tell you her name. And I knew everybody who was going to see those was because of for Jenna Ortega. That's
what I was about to say. Jenna Ortega is a rare thing in this day and age where she appears to have actual star power. People will go to watch something she's in because it's Jenna Ortega.
Most people are like, oh, I know they suck, but I love Jenna Ortega. That's what I heard from a lot of people. And it's like, it doesn't mean you should still go reward these movies for existing.
No, that's true. That is very true. Well, look,
yeah, we'll see.
It's completely up shit's creek. It's completely destroyed. What do we think? What's the over and under? Is it going to work? Is it not? Who's your pick? I mean, you think Neve Campbell is going to come back?
I think that's the best chance they got right now. Because as far as I know, she's the only one left alive. So,
Mike, you're not a YouTuber. What do you think?
Ha 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 ha.
And I did hear a rumor, actually, not before Mike goes, on that note, that they did reach out to her and Patrick Dempsey.
And what happened?
Oh, God.
They haven't heard yet, but Patrick Dempsey was her love interest in part 3, and we would assume that that's who she got married to. So it might go back to more of the roots. But anyway, Mike, you were about to say, sorry.
Well, look, I mean, if they're going for nostalgia member berries, then yeah, bring back Nev Campbell. And you know what? Nate's right. The odds of getting a good script are probably slim to none. But you got to go off of star power, and at least that actor's got notoriety.
You get those two, that's a big deal.
It just baffles me. Like when I hear like Paramount didn't have her under contract, I'm like, Paramount just consistently seems to mismanage every freaking IP it ever gets its hands on, whatever that is, whatever genre. It just astounds.
They probably had her for 2, Mikey, and that's probably why they got her for so cheap for the second film.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's definitely.
I don't know what she got paid. I'm just saying we don't know what her contract was, but my guess is they probably signed him on for 2 movies.
Well, I mean, they don't develop talent in Hollywood anymore. They don't even locate talent anymore. They bring people in that aren't even in Hollywood to act in films.
But then again, Nev wasn't only signed on for 1 more. So again, we don't know. You might be right, Mike. They probably were so stupid they didn't have their contracts in order for these movies with these casts.
Ridiculous.
Like business wise, it just seems completely just dumb.
I mean, if you're going to reestablish the Scream franchise, the first thing I would have done was got the 3 main cast that was left, got them under contract, and I wouldn't have killed any of them in the first fucking film.
Right.
And then, get them at least for 2-3 movies. And then if you're whatever your new characters, then you get them under contract as well. Because then you've got at least a trilogy out of this at this point. And that's the only way Paramount's going to make any money. And now they've kind of shot themselves in the foot because it's going to be another 1.5 years or better before they get another movie out. So it's going to be 2025, 26 before we see Scream 7 or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Might be like Scream 1 again. They're just going to straight reboot the whole bloody thing. Who knows?
That's the other option. And I think that's where culture was going with it. And that's where you completely start. And I don't think that's going to roll over too well with people.
No.
Because they kind of did that with the MTV series, and that was constantly trying to find its footing. And it had a little bit of an audience, but I think they changed so many times between seasons that it lost its audience. And then, with the newer films, the reason that people went back to see them, I would say, first of all, was just because Nev Campbell and, Courtney Cox and David Arquette were in that 5th film, but then a lot of people love Jenna Ortega. That's why they came back for part 6. Without her, I think they're screwed. I don't think a reboot is I think the only option here is what I said, but you never know. They could wait a couple of years and just totally reboot it. Culture could be right.
True.
But I don't know if the time is right for that.
I think they're going to want to keep churning it out as well. So
they will, but it's going to be bad timing is my point. You need to Scream should come along again when we hit a point where we know slasher movies are going out of style again. They're just kind of coming back in vogue. Like, why would you want to do a
Yeah,
Scream movie when they're just coming back in vogue? I mean, it's
Well, because they completely missed the point of Scream. That's why they didn't get it.
No, well, the whole industry didn't get the point of Scream, and that's why we got Scream clones for years.
Yeah, and that destroyed horror, which is a whole other
It did.
conversation.
Yeah, and as Andre and I will point out many times over, but the main issue is that you had a bunch of characters who were supposed to be smarter than the movies, but they're still making all the same mistakes.
Yeah, dumb. But it'll be fun to see where this goes.
Horseradish power, I think, has another third option.
Well, yeah, the chat's been on fire on this subject. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a third
Scream
option.
7, have Ghostface be a literal ghost.
It's like, at this point, fuck it.
Might as well.
That way you can bring back Stu.
Yeah.
Matthew Lillard. It's a
Well,
Scream.
we got one from Richard Curtis as well for £10, and it says they should rework their current script into a brand new slasher, probably a killer based on the Mona Lisa. Put Scream 7 on the back burner until they can get some people back, say 5 years or so.
Maybe.
I don't think they will.
I mean, the problem with Scream is you're invested in the people, right? Like, that's the difference between Scream and other horror films. So a lot of those guys, you want them to get hacked off. You don't really give a shit about them. You care about those characters. Like, Dewey, that really bothered me, right? The way he went out and by the character who did it, it's just like, really? He deserved better than that. So he got totally Han Solo'd in that movie. So you have a problem there. And that's where I didn't like that film, because that film said that the fans were the problem because they can't get beyond the first movie. And that's where I got in an argument with a few people. And I said, no. That is not true. Fans care about continuity, right? Like, our reaction to the Duel of the Fates script tells you that. It's like, look, that movie, would it could have been great? No, but it was better than what we had gotten. It at least took what had came before and worked with it. 9 times out of 10, people don't care as long as you're not like That's where the Halloween franchise went off the rails. Do you realize that there's 5 different timelines in that franchise? If you count the Rob Zombie movies, and the Halloween 3 is a separate timeline. Yeah.
But see, Tom, I'm going to push back a little bit on a script versus a film, because we all know that things get saved in the edit and things get shifted around, during the course. So it's possible Duel of Fates, that script could have been good film. We just will never know. But that's you make the perfect point. We care about continuity. We care about lore. We care about the things that we care about. You, as a studio, you don't get to pick the things the audience cares about. You don't even know if they're gonna care about a film. It's something that's brand fresh, out there, new. You don't get to pick that. You get to make the best possible movie you can, with the best story you can buy, and put the best people you can in front and behind the camera. That's all you can control as a studio. You don't get to tell the fans or any consumer what they care about. Your product either is appealing in the marketplace or it isn't, and that's with everything, whether it be cinema, television, a T-shirt, a hat. It doesn't matter.
Well, and horror fans are the easiest to please, and they're also the easiest to take advantage of. Sad.
That's true.
And,
very true.
We see it on endless cycles. Yeah.
Olaf Varnes for €6 says creativity's been dead 7+ years. All we get is the message wrapped in nostalgia to try and subvert the current culture and push this woke ideology. And I would absolutely agree with that.